Hey guys. This is a little impromptu late night stream. Victor's going to be thrilled because I probably should have been downstairs like 2 hours ago. Um, but I have some thoughts about things that I wanted to kind of get out while they were fresh in my mind. So I'm just going to give people a second to kind of file in. I just did a stream with Spectre tonight over on Twitch. Spectre is a leftist, but I like him. I think he's a cool guy and we've always gotten along. And we had a chat tonight and it was actually like a really 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 civil conversation. And he, said some things that honest to God I hadn't really thought about them in the way that he said them. I had thought about them in like ways that had waffled around what he said, but he really put it very succinctly, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it and have a little conversation. I'm really not going to be on for that long. Not going to be on for that long at all. Um but I've been basically getting canceled last 2 days because I said something about that people choose their death, and then someone said, "Oh, is that true of aborted babies?" And I said, "Yes." And it's people true of Okay, let me back up. Let me back up to give context because someone's going to take this out of context. I was in the midst of having a discussion about spiritual beliefs and moral codes. And I said, I think all people choose when they die, everyone, everyone in every circumstance. And then someone said, "Well, is that true? Do we have a moral obligation to outlaw abortion?" And I said, "No, because we all choose when we die." And they said, "Is that true of murder victims?" And I said, "Yep." And they said, "Is that true of people in the Holocaust?" And I said, "Yep, because I believe it applies to everyone in every circumstance, good, bad, otherwise." It was a spiritual discussion. And then that got taken out of context and I got canceled. And you know what? The thing of it is like it absolutely started with conservatives and then leftists migrated into it and it became a whole fucking rigmarole. And I'm fine. I am fine. I cancel proofed myself over a year and a half ago. So there's like nothing that people can do to like actually cancel me. I haven't said anything against YouTube standards, so they can't deplatform me. I haven't said like locals is obviously never getting deplatformed. I cancel proofed my proper business over a year and a half ago. Every single contract I have, every single contract I have has cancellation clauses written into it. So even if a client cancels me, I still get paid the full amount. I just don't have to do the work. So it's like pretty rad. Yeah, I saw someone say that I work for PragerU. I have never once received a paycheck from PragerU. That is completely false. That has never happened. Yeah, nuclear. Come on, you're not going in. Come on, nuclear. You and I have been you and I have been back and forth. I caught you talking shit about me. You apologized. You're not breaking up with me, please. Please. No, but it's been bad. Like they've been distorting what I've been saying in every possible way. And here's the thing is again, I'm not worried about this from like a business perspective. I'm not even worried about it from a personal perspective. Um but I want to talk a little bit about getting canceled and how I think you survive it because probably many of you will actually go through being canceled at some point. Now, I've been canceled a lot. I don't even know. Like maybe I've been canceled like 5 or 6 times in the last year alone because and all by the right. All by the right in the last year. Every single one of them. In 2020, I got canceled like 3 times by the left, maybe once by the right. Actually, I don't even know if I did get canceled in 2020 by the right. I think I only got canceled in 2021 by the right. Anyway, I don't even remember. Sometimes you block out bad memories. But I want to talk about what I've learned about surviving cancellation because I think a lot of people are deathly afraid. They see something happening like this to someone like me and they get deathly afraid and they try to scare them into submission to shut them up. Let me tell you something. Being canceled is not that bad. Now, I say that being very lucky that I have always worked for myself when I've been a public person. I understand that. If you lose your job and your ability to pay your mortgage when you're canceled, that is a completely different thing. Most cancellations don't happen like that. At least not like what I've experienced. What most cancellations are is getting like mean tweets and messages for like a day or two and then it dies down and you never really hear about it again. That's what happens in most cases. Most cases it's a couple days of nonsense and you hear from the most ridiculous possible people that you could hear from and they continually gaslight you and try to convince you. Here's what I hear. I've supported you from the beginning, but this is just a step too far, from people who I have never heard of or talked to before. I look at the names of people who leave comments on my stuff. I look at the names of people in my locals. In my locals, I actually see them on Zoom. I'm going to be seeing them on Zoom tomorrow. I look at the names of people who reply to me on Twitter, not all the time because sometimes I get a lot of replies, but I do consistently peruse the replies. I consistently peruse the comments. I know exactly who supported me from the beginning and who hasn't. They come into the comments and they lie. That's like one of the first things that happens. They reply to you and they lie. I've always supported you. I've always been your biggest fan. Never heard of you. Never seen your picture. Never seen your screen name. No, no, no. And the reason they do this is firstly to try to gaslight you. But the other thing they're trying to do is trying to convince other people around you that your fans are abandoning you. They're trying not only to gaslight the person they're trying to cancel, they're trying to gaslight everyone else around you. They did this all the time when the white identitarians canceled me back in June. Holy shit. Holy shit did they do this. And so they make you believe that the problem is bigger than it is. They try to make you believe, especially like when you're doing something like me and you like, numbers and stats are like a real thing. They're like, you're going to lose thousands of subscribers. And I have in the past. I have lost thousands of subscribers, but most of them were white identitarians, and so I'm not really that upset about that. But like, they try to fool you into believing that your life is over. So today my Twitter was filled with comments from people saying, we're gonna get your state license revoked. I'm an industrial organizational psychologist. I don't require a license. I don't need a license. I had people all the way up and down my Twitter, though, saying, we're going to get your license. We're going to contact the state. Go ahead, contact the state. Do it. So they lie to you. They try to gaslight you. They try to make you feel like this is a bigger problem than it is. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll create multiple accounts, or many of them will have multiple accounts because like I'm not the first person in the world they've canceled by a long shot. So they'll have like multiple accounts. You'll get messages that look exactly the same from multiple accounts. It's a show. It's a smokescreen. It is. They're trying to make it seem like it's worse than it is. And their goal is to shut you up. You have a choice about whether or not you want to allow them to win. You have that choice. The number one rule when you're pushing back against these woke ideologies, and there's woke on the left and there is woke on the right, probably everywhere in between, is that is that you never bend the knee to them. You never give in to them. Now, my tweet, some could argue that it was inartfully worded. Now, when you see the tweet within context that they pulled it out of because it was taken out of context, it looks a lot worse than it looks in context. Some could argue that it was inartfully worded, but is that is an inartful tweet really the reason that they're canceling me? Is that really it? Nah. You have to know emphatically that even if you could concede that, maybe I could have worded the tweet better. Maybe I could have worded it better. I don't actually believe that's true because I believe it was perfect within the context it was in. But even if you believe that, you never bend the knee and you never apologize. Because if you give in to the mob once, they will forever have you over a barrel. This is the worst part of being canceled is the mind fuck. Because you might believe that if you act like a reasonable person, the mob will act like a reasonable person with you. But what you have to understand emphatically is that the mob will never be reasonable. The mob will never relent. It doesn't matter if you give them what they want. They will always want more blood. They will always want more blood. It will never stop. And if you apologize, they will know that they have power over you. Because just like every training that we watch every single week on this channel, it is not about race. It's not about anti-Semitism. If they actually cared about anti-Semitism, they'd go after actual anti-Semites, which we'll talk about in a second. It's not about any of these things. It is about power. It is only about power. It is always about power. If you allow them to think for an instant that they have the ability to control you, to control your words, and if they control your words, they control your thoughts. If you allow them to think that for one single second because you feel the need to be a reasonable person, you need to put that perspective out of your head once you are in the midst of being canceled by these people. You have to put it out of your head. It doesn't matter if maybe you could have worded the tweet a little more artfully, or you could have done this, or you could have done that. They are trying to destroy you. And they're not only trying to destroy your job, your ability to earn money, your friendships, your relationships. They are trying to destroy your ability to think. I'm being canceled for a spiritual belief. A spiritual belief. A belief that I don't try to force on anyone else. A belief that I would never try to legislate. A belief that I've never asked anyone to agree with me and don't particularly care if they do. If they can cancel someone for a spiritual belief, they are literally trying to cancel your ability to think, your ability to have faith in something, your ability to see a bigger picture, your ability to exist outside of this mob rule environment that they have tried to create. You are under no obligation to accept the rules that they are trying to make you play by. You're under no obligation to live your life the way that they demand you live your life. You are under no obligation to believe the things that they want you to believe. You have no obligation to them at all. These people are trying to destroy you. Why would you give in to them? You stand tall. You don't feel bad if you didn't say anything wrong. And you never, ever, ever give in to them. And in a day or two, it usually ends up going away. And everyone forgets about it. And everyone is so focused on themselves and their own world that you usually don't even hear about it again. Maybe onesies or twosies, a comment here or there, a note saying, Carlin, what was that tweet about? But usually you really like it usually goes away pretty quickly. And if you have surrounded yourself with good people, and this is where your friends and your social, you've got to be really, really careful about how you pick out your friends. I haven't lost a single friend over this that I'm aware of. Because all of my friends know this is bullshit. Or they don't care. Or they know it's being misconstrued. I didn't even have to explain it to, like, the vast majority of them. They're like, something's going on. If you lose friends because you were canceled and you didn't bend the knee to the mob, then they weren't really your friends to begin with. Jenny's getting inky with it. Thank you for the super chat. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing and them a dead white man who knew of which he spoke. I'm gonna read this again. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Jenny's getting inky with it. Thank you. Thank you. Common Cure says, as a proponent of homeschooling, are you concerned that there are probably homeschoolers who teach their children lies about a certain event in World War II? Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. Oh, big time. Yeah, that's a concern. I'm not going to lie. That is absolutely a concern. But the reality is that I think on par, homeschooling does more good than it does harm. And I mean, listen, man, here's a spiritual reality. Lots of people have fucked up parents who fuck up their kids. Let's just be blunt here for a second. Raise your hand in the chat if you had fucked up parents that fucked you up in some way. I'm sure my parents did the best they could. They still fucked me up. Most people in the world have fucked up parents that have fucked them up in some way. Most people in the world. If you didn't, I salute you and am happy that you dodged that bullet. But many of us did. And so it's a sad reality that, I'm not going to say that all homeschooling is bad because some homeschool parents will teach bad things. That doesn't make any sense. You know? So number one rule when you're getting canceled is that you do not ever, 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 ever bend the knee. You never give in. You never try to act like a reasonable person, because the experience that these people are putting you through and trying to destroy your life and your ability to think is not reasonable. It's not. If you didn't say anything wrong, don't torture yourself. Don't feel bad. Shut off the computer. Go outside. Go shopping. Go out and eat a nice dinner. Go enjoy yourself. Live life. You have no obligation to be miserable just because these people are trying to make you miserable. You have no obligation to suffer just because these people are trying to make you suffer. You know, the belief system I have that people think is so, so weird. It's also the most empowering belief system in the world because it tells me that I have the ability to control my emotions and my mood. And if I want to feel good, I can feel good. And if I don't want to feel good, I can, allow myself to continue to wallow too. And that might be something I need to do for a little while. But if I want to feel good, I can feel good. In fact, it's my entire job is to feel good in this lifetime. I can meditate. I can burn some Palo Santo and smudge. I can go do something that makes me happy. You're never under any obligation to suffer just because other people want you to suffer. You have the ability to control all of these things, and you have to know that you have the ability to control all of these things. You are not a victim if you get canceled. You made the choice on some level to commit the act that resulted in your cancellation, most of the time knowing that any random act that you contribute can result in your cancellation. Do you think I don't know that every single tweet that I send could result in my cancellation? I've been canceled like umpteen times in the past 2 years. Naruto says, even good parents screw up their kids. Yes, that's true. Even good parents fuck up their kids. So you made the choice. You are not a victim when you get canceled, and you can't treat yourself as though you are a victim if you get canceled. Look at it as if you're getting canceled, a whole bunch of people are paying attention to what you're saying. A whole bunch of people are sending a lot of energy your way. You can take that energy and harness it in any way that you see fit. You don't have to be miserable just because other people want you to be miserable. You don't have to apologize just because other people want you to apologize if you didn't do anything wrong. And just allow yourself to feel good. Tell yourself you didn't do anything wrong. Talk to people off of Twitter or whatever platform you're being canceled on. And there's a reason they're trying to cancel you. There's a reason they're trying to cancel you. And now let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Because this is a question that Spectre brought up when I did a stream with him on Twitch earlier. If you're looking for that stream, it's on my Twitter timeline somewhere. For those of you who just joined, Spectre is a leftist, but he and I are friends, and I like him, and I think he's funny, and he's a nice person, and we've had good conversations. And he invited me on a stream. It's like, Carlin, you want to come and talk about this insanity? I was like, sure. Because I knew he would have a reasonable conversation, and we actually had a great conversation. It was a really good conversation. It was really good. But one of the things Spectre said to me, because Spectre and I have been chatting for a while about the white identitarians. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the white identitarians, you're going to want to watch the stream I did earlier today. Because back in June, just quick timeline, I know this will be review for some, but we have people here that might not have seen the other thing, so we have to review. Back in June, I accidentally kicked the hornet's nest of white identitarians. I didn't know what I did at the time because it was all an accident. I started to figure out that the white identitarians were recruiting in anti-CRT groups on Facebook. They're called the White Wellbeing Movement, the White Positivity Movement. These are not good people. They are people who are specifically pushing language into the culture that they want to use to recruit. I've laid this all out on multiple occasions. I got canceled by these people really badly back in June, like really badly. This was not a couple day cancellation. This was like a several week cancellation. It sucked. Cassandra Fairbanks was involved. Fucking Ian Miles Chung was involved. Conservative fucking alt-right wannabe badasses that are really cowards that sit behind a computer screen all day. Like there were multiple different layers to this cancellation. And that cancellation led to me doing a lot of in-depth research about this particular group. And for those of you who have been following along since June with this story, this is something I have literally been screaming about since June, that these are real white identitarians. They're bad people. I've illustrated it on multiple occasions. They are overtly anti Semitic. They're trying to infiltrate spaces that conservatives are in. They're using conservative blue check influencers. They're using conservative media outlets. I have laid this all out in painstaking detail over and over and over again. I have posted clips of these people. I have provided evidence. I have provided proof. I even provided that proof to leftist media outlets, by the way, that didn't want to cover it. But I tried. I have been one of very, very, very few people who for months has been calling out actual anti-Semites, because these people are extremely anti-Semitic. The irony of this, and I said this in the stream earlier, but I'll repeat for anyone who wasn't there. The irony of this whole thing is that the people who are canceling me call me an anti-Semite. The actual anti-Semites call me a Jew. These people call me a Jew all the time. Go on my Gab sometime. If you want to have a good time, go on my Gab page and just scroll back a couple months to September and just look at the replies on my Gab. It's going to be Jew, 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 Jew. Really bad word that means Jew that starts with K that I'm not going to say. Jew, Jew, Jew. They call me a Jew as an insult. The actual anti-Semites do. They go after me all the time. Now I've kind of learned to swat them away like the flies that they are at this point. And I don't have any regrets about calling them out. No, I'm not Jewish. I'm not Jewish in any way, but they insult me by calling me a Jew. Not that there's anything wrong with being Jew. I love the Jews. Jews have great food. Amazing food. Anyway, so what was I saying? Okay, so what I'm saying is that I have been one of very few people that have been publicly calling out this group for months. Why is it? Every single time I have called this group out, every single time I have provided ample evidence of who this group is. Every single time I have provided receipts upon receipts upon receipts upon receipts upon receipts. Not one single blue check conservative will do anything to call out this group. In fact, not only do they not do anything, they deflect, they rationalize, they explain, oh, I'm sure they didn't really mean it that way, and they aren't real racist, and they aren't real anti-Semites. And then I hold up a thing saying, they're literally teaching children in public schools that the Holocaust didn't happen. And the conservative blue check influencers say, yeah. Or they just don't even acknowledge it. They have rationalized over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for actual anti-Semites. But for me, I was having a spiritual discussion in which I was talking about spiritual beliefs, in which I believe that people choose their experience before they are ever born. And yes, that includes their death. And yes, that includes everyone. And they took a single tweet out of context and canceled me as an anti-Semite immediately. Because again, this started with conservative blue checks. This did not start on the left. The left joined in afterwards, and you can watch the stream I did with Spectre earlier because he said the same thing. This started with the conservative blue checks, and then the left joined in. So why is it that when I am one of extremely few people, and certainly the person with the largest platform, that has directly called out actual anti Semites for months. And every single time I've done it, it's been ignored by conservative blue checks. And every single time they have looked at the content that I've shown them, they've deflected it, they've rationalized it, they've explained it away. But they're really willing to take a single tweet completely out of context and hold that up and say Carlin is an anti Semite and she needs to have a wellness check. Why is that? Why is it that conservative blue check influencers don't actually care about calling out actual anti Semites, but they're extremely quick to cancel me as an anti Semite when I am the actual person who has been calling out legitimate anti Semites for months? Does anyone have any theories in the chat? I'll give you a sec. I have a theory. I have a theory. They're controlled opposition. That's, I think, true. But I think it's more than that. I do think it's more than that. Yep. Jennifer Ellis. Ding, ding, ding. This is what I think. The conservative blue check influencers refuse to call out actual anti Semites that are proven to be anti Semites. Like, I mean, some of the most overtly anti Semitic things you've ever seen in your life. Because, not because they want them to succeed, but I think the conservative blue checks believe they need them. I think they believe that they need them. I think that conservative blue checks absolutely know that these people make up a chunk of their audience. When I first started talking about white identitarians and all of this, I lost thousands of subscribers. Thousands of subscribers. Thousands. Because I was calling this out. It would not surprise me at all, not one little bit, if conservative blue check influencers absolutely knew that a chunk, not all by any stretch, but a nice chunk of their audience is made up of people who would fall into this group. And they don't want to lose that audience because they don't want to lose that money, honey. That money is more important to them than anything. And then along comes this former Democrat with the weird haircut. And she doesn't pull any punches and she doesn't take any bullshit. And when she sees something is wrong, she calls it out and says it. And says, these are bad people. We should not be supporting these people. We should be denouncing these people. And she has not a huge platform, but like, you know, a fair sized platform. Decent. Better than most. And all of a sudden, these conservative blue checks are put in a position where they either need to call out a chunk of their audience that is going to lose them that chunk of their audience and that money, honey, or they can pretend that that silly former Democrat with the weird haircut is crazy and talk about her psychological health on Twitter and just pretend that she's the problem. And then as soon as you have an opportunity to cancel that funny-haired girl, you do it without a moment's hesitation, even if you have to lie and cheat and take things out of context in order to do it. That makes a lot of sense to me. Every conservative blue check influencer knows I covered that story. You guys are asking me to name names in the chat. I'll name some names, fine. Nick H, they are no different than Al Sharpton. So, first off, a lot the conservative blue check influencers are extremely aware that I've been covering this. I know because a lot of them have been in my DMs. I know that. Now I'm going to name some names. Ian Miles Chung, still gray. Ian Miles Chung took the side of white identitarians back in June in order to own me, in order to attack me. He sided with these people. He continues to side with these people. And he's still doing it today. Ian Miles Chung is one of the people on Twitter who basically said she's insane. She needs a mental health check after he back in June sided with white identitarians. And I blocked his ass. He's been bitter ever since. You want another one? Cassandra Fairbanks. Cassandra Fairbanks isn't involved directly with the group that I covered. But oh my God, is she friends with Patrick Casey? It's not a good guy. Not a good guy. Cassandra Fairbanks is one of the ringleaders of the people who canceled me back in June. Never done a damn thing about any of this stuff. I never believed what they said about her. You know, until back in June, I never believed what they said about her. I really didn't. I just thought that she was like this uppity bitch, and she was like bombastic and spicy. And people didn't like her because she was like a tough girl, whatever. No, she like, yo, go on her Telegram sometime. Go on her Telegram sometime. Holy shit. Oh, what other names do I care to name? See, I don't want to name the names that that I actually know that they have good reasons for not doing this, that I've talked to, because there are some that I believe have good reasons for doing it. That Siraj jackass with the list. That guy. Absolutely. 100%. Like, why? Why would you take something out of context? There are lots of others too. I'm not going to name too many names because, like, I do wonder. I wonder how many of them are being useful idiots, to be honest, and especially back in June, I hadn't done a good job of fleshing out the story at the time. I hadn't done a good job, and I have to own that. But there are a couple of them. Most of them tend to be like they tend to be more kind of like at least like alt-right curious, like they're grifting into like riper territory. But the truth of the matter is, like, listen, I do not believe that the white identitarians that I've covered are actual alt-right. They don't consider themselves to be alt-right. They don't consider themselves to be on the right at all. They consider themselves to be completely separate from the left-right paradigm. But but there absolutely are people who play to that space in order to make money that do not want to lose the support of very bad people. That do not want to lose the support of very bad people. They're more than happy to lose my support because I have forced them into a position of at least them feeling like they need to either call these people out or retain their support. So that's why they're so quick to cancel me and take things I say out of context. Now, leftists, let's talk about leftists for a second because I don't want to leave the left. I'm, I know I'm harder on conservatives. I'm harder on conservatives, frankly, because I expect them to know better. Leftists are like completely unhinged lunatics for the most part. Not all of them. Like I said, I was on Spectre's stream tonight. Spectre is a leftist. I consider him to be a cool guy. We just disagree. But leftists who cancel people tend to be unhinged lunatics. And so I don't hold them necessarily to like the same standard as I hold conservatives. I hold conservatives to a higher standard. Sorry. Life isn't fair. Not everyone gets a pony. But leftists have no excuse here either because again, I am one of very few, if they actually care about anti-Semitism like the way they say they do, A, they wouldn't be arguing to bomb Israel off of the map. But B, if they actually cared about anti-Semitism and racism like they claim to care about anti-Semitism and racism, then you would think that they would appreciate when someone goes out of their way to actually call out legitimate racists and legitimate anti-Semites. Oh, by the way, another name, Carrie Smith from Unsafe Space, that bitch, Mikey Harlow as well. Both of them have repeatedly sided with white identitarians over me. I'll call them out. Don't care. I've actually seen both Carrie and Mikey on Twitter talking with the same white identitarians in their comments as I covered in my article. Exactly the same people. Exactly the same people. They may not have known, and I can grant them that. They may not have known because they hate me so much that they ignored the information that I put out and then cozied right up to white identitarians who came into their comments to try to do the same thing they've done to other people. It was fascinating to watch. It was like you see me put out this article, you see Carrie and Mikey Harlow, Carrie Smith from Unsafe Space and Mikey Harlow like hating on me on Twitter. And then like clockwork, the white identitarians I wrote about in that article creep into their replies and they start cozying up to them, and because Carrie and Mikey don't actually know what they're talking about because they haven't actually looked at what's going on, they start replying to these people as though they're just like normal everyday people, even though if they had read my article, they would have known clearly who they were talking to. I'll call them out. Yeah, I used to be friends with Mikey. There was a lot of backstabbing that happened, and not on my side. And he's threatening to make a video about me. Mikey, I'm scared of a video that you make about me like I'm scared of getting a hole in the head. Sorry, not sorry. But no, I'll call them out too because it's like the classic example of like, why do you like if you claim to care about this stuff, then why do you actually hate me more than you hate really bad people? And this is the other excuse that I got from conservatives too. They're like, well, Carlin, of course we're not going to share your content about anti-Semitism. We hate you. If you actually care about anti-Semitism, is it going to matter if you hate the person who did the research? If you actually like this is true. Like I've heard from today from conservatives because I did my anti-Semitism challenge because I know full well that not a single one of those blue check conservative influencers that tried to cancel me and call me an anti-Semite, not a single one of them actually cares about anti-Semitism. It's all bullshit. So today I started the anti-Semitism challenge to try to get these people to actually share information about actual anti-Semitism. I don't even care if they mention me. I don't even care if they mention me. I just want them to share the information so that people know. But their excuse for not sharing it is, "Well, Harlan, we can't. I mean, come on. We cannot share information that you put together. We hate you. We don't like you." If you actually cared about anti-Semitism, would you care if you were BFFs with the person that gave you the information? I sure as shit wouldn't. Not everyone's meant to be BFFs. Not everyone's meant to be friends. But I think the real answer is they know. I gotta wrap this up. They know that they are making money off of really bad people, and they would rather keep their paychecks than do the right thing. I absolutely believe that's the case. And then they make excuse after excuse after excuse for why they won't do it. And none of those excuses actually mean anything if you actually care about anti-Semitism. Oh, I didn't call out the left, actually. I think I got distracted. Let's talk about the left. If the left actually cared about this stuff, maybe I did. I don't know. It's late. If the left actually cared about this stuff, they wouldn't be canceling me over this. They'd be canceling the actual anti-Semites. But the left doesn't care about it either. The left doesn't care about racism. The left doesn't care about anti-Semitism. All the left cares about is canceling a woman who did a PragerU video, which is ironic in and of itself because PragerU, these people go after PragerU all the time because they're Jews. So you're telling me that the left, who wants Israel bombed off the map, the left who doesn't mind that actual anti-Semites go after PragerU all the time. The left who claims to care about anti-Semitism but doesn't really seem to like Jews all that much. You're telling me they're canceling me, the person who has been one of the people who has consistently called out actual racism and actual anti-Semitism when no one else on the right would. Not that I consider myself to be on the right. You're telling me they care about anti-Semitism? Please. Please. The lesson of this is that none of the people who tell you, if you don't see people calling out actual acts of anti-Semitism, they don't give a flying fuck. They don't care. What they care about is maintaining their position. What they care about is their money, honey. That's what they care about. On both sides. So that's the stream I'm going to do for tonight. I hear Victor walking. Victor's like, what the fuck is she doing? Why is she still online? She was supposed to be down here an hour ago. All right, guys, I'm gonna head out. It's 11:30. I gotta go say goodnight to my husband and apologize for abandoning him all night. But thank you for spending some time with me. I gave you some thoughts about being canceled. I gave you some thoughts around why they're coming at me specifically when they don't ever cancel actual anti-Semites. They don't ever even try. I could have named other people too. I'm not inclined to just yet because I think the people I named, I think are pretty much beyond redemption so far as I'm concerned. And there are other people who have been in my DMs that I know understand this. And I hope that they come around. So I'm trying to be judicious for the moment. But yeah, Nuclear says mount that like button on your way out the door. All right, guys. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you soon.